Hey guys, my name is Dan, and this is Stout Gaming. I'm here with my MDL Season 3 Week 5 matchup versus Toxic. Toxic actually just sent me the code and is waiting, so I'm just going to go through the intro as quick as humanly possible, so let's get into it. So looking at Toxic's team, I'm bringing Hard Trick Room this week because Copperajah goes in against everything except Crocodile, so I think he needs to bring Crocodile. I expect Dragapult or Blastoise, probably both, next to Clefairy as a lead. We might include a variety of support options and maybe a Trick Room answer in Dragalge. I don't think any of the bottom ones come. They just don't seem to match up well into my team. Outside of the hard Trick Room mode, Arcanine was a strong consideration, so was Azelf, but I end up going with a different kind of fast mode option. But looking at the team quickly, Assault Vest Copperajah goes in against everything on his team except for Crocodile and maybe Sarina to some extent, but I'm not super worried about Sarina, more so Crocodile, which is the reason why I've got Room Service Primarina. It's got a unique speed stat with 17 IVs. This will underspeed Dragalge, min-speed Dragalge and Trick Room, while still outspeeding a large percentage of bulky Crocodiles under Tailwind. Not all Crocodiles, obviously, but a large percentage of them. That's basically the Primarina set. Garchomp, the 68 Jolly there, it gives me one more speed than Blastoise to make sure that I outspeed it even if it Shell Smashes under Tailwind. Otherwise, it's a pretty bulky set, but it will still OHKO most Clefairies with the Max Steel Spike. Tornadus, set Tailwind. Icy Wind could be useful if he's got Shell Smash Blastoise, and I can identify that in future games because I can Icy Wind if he's got White Herb on it to trigger that first and then leave him with weakened defenses and only +1 speed. Taunt is for Clefairy. Tangela is pretty self-explanatory. Redirector, help me get Trick Room set up. It's calc to survive various things that I'm not really going to get into so as not to waste time. And then Cofagrigus, the Trick Room setter. It has Will-O-Wisp because a lot of his attackers are physical, and Will-O-Wisp really cripples them. Body Press hits the Crocodile really hard, as well as doing decent damage to a lot of other things, and then Haze to reset stats on a potential Blastoise. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and cut to the battle. So, looking at the teams that are brought to the battle, my Trick Room mode seems very likely to be solid because the Crocodile isn't present. The Trick Room mode's biggest threat at this point is the Sarina. The Clefairy redirecting is obviously a threat, but the Cofagrigus does survive Helping Hand Sarina max overgrowth into it if it's 252 adamant. So I feel pretty good about this setup. There's always the chance that a Specs Blastoise with Dark Pulse, for example, could be a threat, but then I could redirect that away. Generally, he doesn't have a great way to deny Trick Room, and because he doesn't have a great way to deny Trick Room, I'm feeling very confident with the Cofagrigus lead. Looking at his team further as I wait for him to lock in, the Dragalge in Trick Room would be pretty annoying, but Copperajah should beat that. One-on-one in Trick Room, Copperajah beats everything on his team, and out of Trick Room, it's a lot trickier than that, but I feel pretty good about a lot of the matchups. So, looking at the lead here, Toxic sends out Sarina and Clefairy, and I'm very happy with this. Like I said, I survive Helping Hand, max overgrowth into the Cofagrigus. There's really nothing that he can do. My Rage Powder wouldn't work on Sarina because it's a grass type, so my thought is I'll just put the Clefairy to sleep, Trick Room, and it should be pretty solid for me from there. I don't see a way that this goes poorly for me, because even though he's able to chunk the Cofagrigus, I'll be able to Will-O-Wisp back and get him the Copperajah. I assume the Sarina is going to have Overgrowth, Triple Axle, and a High Jump Kick, and maybe a fourth attack, maybe Protect. Either way could really go, but Max Sarina is pretty ideal for me. I'm feeling good about this. Helping Hand, okay. So as long as he doesn't crit, I will get Trick Room up, and this is going to be a very, very solid start for me. And at first I think I must have miscalculated something, because that shouldn't, nope, never mind, that was the crit. Okay. So this game I go from being a 90% favorite if Trick Room goes up in this position to being a 90% underdog with Trick Room not going up in this position. I am able to Sleep Powder the Clefairy, which is semi-useful, but outside of Trick Room, the boosting potential of that Sarina into Caporaja is very bad for me. At this point, I'm just trying to think if there's a strategy that lets me come out of this favored if he plays well from this point on, and I don't see one. So I'm sort of planning through game 2 at this point, but I've still got a few things that I can do. Mostly Sleep Powder into that Clefairy spot in case it switches out, and this Steel Spike doesn't kill it, just try to get rid of Friend Guard, and then maybe chip down the Sarina long term because Caporaja will have an extra turn of max. These are all bad options at this point. Sarina, if I'm outside of Trick Room, is the worst thing possible for me to be facing right now. So I'm going to let Caporaja come on up, and we're just going to work through a few options and see what we can manage. So my out here is to kill around this arena as much as possible. The Clefairy was going to try to follow me, or Helping Hand. Max Knuckles going to hurt a decent amount, but I have some physical bulk invested in this, so it's not going to be too bad. On top of that, I should be functioning at plus defense. The Clefairy is already asleep, didn't switch out. It should die here. Okay. So, if I'm able to kill around this arena, then I might have a chance with a 2v1 in the late game when it's out of Dynamax, especially if I'm able to keep buffing the Caporaja so it can't get out of control with plus attacks. Is it a great plan? No, but it's the plan that I've got to operate with at this point in time. So the Dragapult comes on out, and I'm assuming it's physical, so it's either going to Phantom Force or Fly right here. So Rage Powder in case it doesn't, because targeting the Dragapult with a Starfall, which would be great, would feel really bad if it Phantom Forced, which is sort of what I'm predicting here. So I do very strongly consider a Starfall into that slot, but Steel Spiking the Serena feels bad, but I do need to keep my defense going up, and I don't think the Dragapult's going to be around to hit, so this is me playing to my out, if not an ideal play. Okay, the Dragapult does Phantom Force, so this was the correct play this turn, but this was also the correct play from Toxic, and if we both make correct plays from this point, he's going to win. I need him to make a mistake. Okay, it's a decent chunk of damage. Sarina's attack goes up, and I'm going to get another defense boost. I don't know if I survive a high jump kick, which is potentially a big issue. So here the Sarina heals up with grassy terrain, I heal up. I think that puts me... Now, I'm probably still in high jump kick range, but it's very close. So here I've got a choice, because we've got the Sarina at +2 attack, the Dragapult is now going to be at +1, although I check because I'm not sure how that works with Phantom Force. It does work, which was what that check was. So, Rage Powder to redirect the Phantom Force to give me a shot, and then if I'm able to kill the Sarina from here, which at this range I think I should be able to, then there's the potential that I do well late game with the Primarina, but Sarina carries Protect, which is pretty unfortunate. So a Starfall into the Dragapult would have been decent here, although, again, far from ideal. Tangle is pretty bulky. So I'll get one more plus defense boost here. I don't know if the Starfall into Dragapult would have been the correct play, but it's a potential option there if I wanted to call the Sarina Protect. And then I'd have a 2v3 situation where Sarina can one-shot basically everything that's on my team right now, but I might be able to chip it down, especially if I can call a good high jump kick. But because I'm AV, I don't have Protect on the Kaparaja. Doesn't feel good in this situation. So I don't really know what to do with the Tangela here. Rage Powder to redirect Dragapult attacks to maybe survive if he goes for something safer than high jump kick feels like the play. And then to punish any sort of miss or missed KO on the Sarina. This is my out at this point in time. It's not a great out, but it's an out. Dragon Darts isn't going to do a lot here. And we'll see what the Sarina does. It does have high jump kick. If I got my RNG and it missed there, I'd definitely be in this. But it's able to take it out, and this game's basically just clean up where the Sarina, Dragapult, and Dragalge in the back are just basically able to clean up the Tangela and the Primarina. So I'm going to let the rest of this game play out on the screen, but I will be back for commentary on Game 2. So, despite the Game 1 loss, I'm actually pretty confident heading into Game 2 because he doesn't have a consistent way to deny the Trick Room. The Serena play was a crit that mattered, and if he doesn't know that crit mattered, which he might not, because that's a weird calc to know off the top of your head, I feel very safe with the same lead with Trick Room in the back. But seeing how well that Serena worked, there is an argument for Tornadus Garchomp and then Tangela Prim in the back as well, or maybe even Tangela Copperajah or Cofagrigus Copperajah. Man, I just listed all 6 Pokemon, but Tornadus Garchomp lead, there is an argument for that. My one worry is if he leads Blastoise, I really want the Trick Room start. So I'm going to go with the same lead and trust that the game mode is generally correct here, which I do believe it is. In fact, seeing what he was doing, besides another crit, there could be issues with a Blastoise lead, but I'm pretty happy with my position currently. Game 2, he does send out the Blastoise Clefairy, so my play here, in case the Blastoise has Dark Pulse and Helping Hand Clefairy to avoid as much possible on a crit, I do just want to Rage Powder and get up Trick Room, because a guaranteed Trick Room will be nice. And then I can redirect into the Tangela and hopefully get it to go down pretty easily. Although Tangela against Blastoise in the long game is going to be decently beneficial for me as well. So again, this is a situation that I am overall pretty happy with. I'm able to get up Rage Powder, and the Blastoise Shell Smashes. Okay, I've got Haze Cofagrigus just for this, and I noticed that with the stat boost, you'll see it doesn't recover its defense stats, so it doesn't have White Herb. The Misty Terrain, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I don't actually know the speed stat comparison between the Tangela and the Clefairy, but I imagine I'm likely faster than it. So it's going to be faster in TR, but Trick Room seems really good. I can haze away the Blastoise boosts, Rage Powder the attacks into the Tangela, save the Cofagrigus for the late game, and I'm going to be pretty happy. The one downside of losing game 1, the manner in which I did, is that I wasn't able to identify the glasses, or the goggles I should say, which I learned this turn are on this Blastoise. It does allow him to put himself in an advantageous position, even though he is definitely not super favorable at this point, but I'm going to be able to identify the goggles this turn, and it's going to be a little annoying the damage that it gets into Cofagrigus, even after a haze to reduce the special attack boost. So first I think, okay, this is going to go into the Tangela, and I'm going to be pretty happy with whatever it is, because nothing kills Tangela with the bulk I have from Blastoise that's not buffed. And then that happens. So I've identified the goggles. It does a chunk, and I'm going to have an issue getting a decent switch in. Technically, the Copperajah next to the Tangela would be very nice here, but I can't freely switch it in right now because, obviously, of the threat of something hitting into it, this Blastoise, because even though I'm AV, it's still a chunk, and then I'm going to be taking the water hazard damage. So I've got some issues here. Like, this was a good lead against me, even though I was able to haze it away. The Primarina switch was basically because I need to save that Cofagrigus for the late game, and it can eat any hit here. And basically it's just here to eat a max water attack. Giga Drain into the Clefairy, I'm okay with. Tangela recovers some HP, and it should be out of range, so I'll be able to put Tangela next to Primarina next turn, and I'm lying, because there was another crit, so that crit also mattered, because Tangela survives from that range, with the bulk I put into it. I'm 95% sure. I mean, there's a chance the crit doesn't matter if I factor in hail damage, and I don't know the calc perfectly off the top of my head. So that crit might not have mattered. Definitely not as impactful as the one in game 1. But here I'm in a decent position with Trick Room up, Pre-Marina, and then I can put Copperaja out to threaten this Blastoise. But I'm thinking through my play here ahead of time, because this Clefairy almost assuredly protects into that slot, so Iron Heading the Clefairy might not be a bad choice here, but Quaking it's also not a bad choice, and Power Ripping into the Blastoise in case he goes for a cheeky Helping Hand play. So if I was a game up, or this was a game 3, I wouldn't have to make certain plays and not make other certain plays, because I would love to max Overgrowth the Blastoise here, but that's too risky, assuming that the Blastoise, if the Clefairy helping or follow me's and I'm overgrowthing into the Blastoise, then it's really bad for me. Here, even if the Clefairy protects, I've still got a shot, and I have to play this game not to lose, not necessarily with the intent, not necessarily make the play that I think is going to win immediately. So that ends up very unideal for me, and an Overgrowth there into the Blastoise would have been nice. Not necessarily game winning, but very nice chunk, very nice chip damage with that and this Dazzling Gleam. Which now the Blastoise basically gets a free Cannonade off. And I didn't even get a defense boost. Like, obviously it's not doing a lot to AV Copperaja, but it's enough, and there's some potential issues here. So this next turn, I believe is going to be my last turn in Trick Room. So here, I do believe that Max Overgrowth also KOs the Tangela. I mean, not the Tangela, the Clefairy. So I'm okay letting it get redirected, because I'm also going to be going for a Dazzling Gleam. And I don't really know what the Blastoise is going to be doing here. So I'm in an okay position here. I obviously wouldn't call it great. Like, game 1 was a bad RNG game for me. Here, he's maneuvered around Trick Room very, very effectively, to the point where I'm going to need to try to get it up a second time, but because the Blastoise has goggles on it, it's going to be hard for me to get it up a second time. So the Follow Me is a nice play there, pretty much needed to happen. This Overgrowth is going to chunk, if not kill, the Clefairy from that range, and then Pre-Marina gets one attack. That crit, I don't think mattered. There's a chance that it did, but even if it did, Pre-Marina is still going to get a decent-sized Dazzling Gleam here off on both of them. Here it just changes it to single target, which does a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of damage. Shell Smashing, though, is very smart, though. Follow Me, Shell Smash, great play. Honestly, my play should have been to max Quake instead of max Overgrowth, just max Quake the Clefairy slot. But again, this position isn't ideal, but it's not game losing, because no matter what he has in the back, this Copperaja can threaten it. Yeah, this Blastoise will chunk the Copperaja, but even at +2, it's not KOing the Copperaja. Like, I feel decent about this position, but obviously not ideal. So, as Trick Room ends, I'm feeling the need to go a bit more into Serena, potentially, with an Iron Head. Not necessarily the ideal play, but it could potentially give me out long game. It is a roll into most Serena builds from where I am and where he is. If it's a very, very bulky Serena, he can guarantee survive, but I think going for the roll is the play here. I mean, there's definitely a world where this is incorrect as well, but I do think it gives me the best potential out. So going for the roll on Serena and then trying to pick up KOs with Dazzling Gleams feels like the right play here. And I believe it is, but that crit is very unfortunate, and being burned is also very unfortunate. So really, luck wasn't on my side this game, and that happens sometimes. You know, a power whip miss might have given me an out, but it still wouldn't have been a great shot. And a crit of my own here would potentially have given me an out as well. Not a great one, but it was not to be. And that does look like a bulky Serena, so I probably didn't have an out, but I think there could have been a chance without that burn. The crit decently mattered, the burn definitely mattered. The crit puts me in range for a lot of things, but I think at this point, I'm going to step away, let you guys watch how the rest of this game plays out, but burn Kuparaja that loses its max, and small HP Kofagrigus are my only things left against things that just pretty cleanly pick up KOs against it. So, good games to Toxic. Like, RNG definitely helped him in this set, but he played well enough to capitalize on the RNG, and I will never fault anyone for getting good luck when it comes to it. But, with that being said, I have a bye next week, and then the week after, I believe I will be playing Hunter, so I will be using 100% of my power to try to mitigate as much RNG as possible, and hopefully get prepped for a win. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.